actively promoting change.
Our purpose tonight, I don't think, is to take what they said and just make it pretty. They've spoken to what matters. They are concerned with safety.
Children don't feel safe, and people are being killed. This is a daily thing. The first thing I do is look on my phone to see who got killed last night.
Made a statement when I was 10 years old. When I grow up, I'm going to help people, because I used to live in public housing, and it's been my life's goal. My brother was a bodyguard for Snoop Dogg, and an incident occurred where someone got killed. During the time that we were going to court for that 14 weeks, our family was hurting and couldn't function. Every member of a family suffers. It's not only the person that is in jail. We are all connected to the event. I was in my final semester at Ashford University, and the law students helped me free my brother. It changed my whole life. A lot of my clients are in jail. Most of them are homeless, and I deal with people who are poor. It's a blessing because it comes back in another way. It is. It's really great.
Does safety need to be repeated in this grouping? Is this transformational? Okay, so first of all,
in the position of trying to take care of my younger siblings, got to a point where I had tried to do a robbery, which landed me in prison. Got sentenced to 4 years in the Department of Corrections. While all that was happening, I had 2 sons that were born. And I think that was the game changer. Not that they were just born, but not being there when they were born. I think that really was the game changer for me, because I felt that guilt of like, that's something I would never be able to see. When I did get out, I decided that there's a place that I was never ever gonna go back to. I would never abandon my kids. And maybe I had to go through that for that reason. So I would never abandon them. So I would have the mindset that I have. Like, I know how it feels. I never want my kids to feel that way. So maybe it's a good thing. I do have a purpose now. Of course, having 6 kids helps that purpose. They're gonna be the ones that are gonna benefit in whatever position that Rockford's in. When they graduate high school, I have to ask myself, did I do everything I could to make sure they can make a career in a company here? That they actually see me do it. I like to lead by example. And it'd be hard for me to ask them to go change the world and I'm doing nothing. I'm just sitting on the couch. It'd be really hard for me to do that.
I can see it both ways. Yeah, I can see it both ways.
What else was missing? What wasn't in this that you expected to see?
How much for the youth to do?
Joe is a guy that we crossed paths with at Jefferson High School last year. A hard-working kid. He is not afraid to get after it.
I got into a little altercation at Jefferson between me and this guy. I got charged with a few things. The court ordered I had to do community service. I didn't know what SureFest did until I actually went.
There was something in him, you could just see that he had energy. He wanted to do something.
It was just a learning experience, and the people around me were just so nice and so welcoming to a kid with a troubled background like that. They didn't really care. They put me to work and they showed me new things.
He discovered that he could work with his hands and that his drive and his energy he could use to accomplish things. Now, at the time, he was playing football. In the mornings, they would go lift. Then he would come and volunteer until they had another lifting session in the late afternoon. And then if we were still there in the evening, he would come back and he would volunteer again. We brought Joe up in front of all the volunteers and said, Joe, we want to acknowledge your effort and your drive, and we want to acknowledge the fact that you can lead people. We'd like to present you with a team leader shirt. That was a big deal to him. Well, then I kind of lose track of Joe throughout the school year, but we cross paths again at Transform Rockford. So he comes in and he worked for 3 nights in a row with us. And it was just amazing to watch him, wrestle with the thoughts that the people had, wrestle with who does he think Rockford could be or should be. You see this in a young man and you go, he has this in him. We as a community have to help him discover that he has this in him. I want to see our community discover what is their potential? What do we really care deeply about? You have 2 choices. One is to say no. And when you say no, the story ends there. It's done. But when you say yes, the story begins. You're never going to sit back and tell your kids someday about the times you said no. You're going to story tell about the times you said yes. I ran into a guy downtown. He says, I've volunteered at Sheriff Fest before, and he says, we may go work the schools. He says, I am not coming downtown. I go, really? Why? Because he was downtown. He goes, that's the city's responsibility. I said, do you think that it's ever going to change under the city's responsibility? Like, well, no. I said, how's it going to change? We're going to change it. The only way it will change is for all of us here. So we can sit and complain that the city ought to be doing this, the city ought to be doing that, or we can make it happen.